Thank you. Thank you so much. I wish to begin by thanking Jane Forbes Clark, Chairman of the National Baseball Hall of Fame, Josh Rawitch, the President, the entire staff of the Hall of Fame, and also the hundreds of volunteers that have made this weekend go so smoothly. And I want to thank all of you for being here. What a wonderful atmosphere to demonstrate your love for the game of baseball. And I found out yesterday these people are people that love baseball. I fell in love with baseball on June 26, 1946. My dad drove me to Detroit to see a doubleheader, Red Sox Tigers. I saw Ted Williams, Bobby Doerr, Hank Greenberg, Al Newhouser. But what really impressed me is when I walked up the ramp to find our seats, this dark green cathedral called Briggs Stadium opened up. And the greenest expanse of grass I'd ever seen, the whitest white uniforms. And I think my little 7-year-old brain said, I want to be one of those guys. And I actually think that from that day forward, all I wanted to be was a baseball player. I learned a lot about the Hall of Fame actually in those years. My parents actually drove here in 1947 to see the induction of my dad's favorite player, Lefty Grove. In our living room, we played a lot of baseball history, asked me a lot of questions. I knew the answers to one of the questions before he got done reciting it. And the answers were Ty Cobb, Walter Johnson, Christy Mathewson, Babe Ruth, and Honus Wagner. First 5 inductees in the Hall of Fame, 1956. I knew that before I was 10 years old. Now, when you hear the words after you answer your phone, this is Jane Clark calling from the Hall of Fame. Your life immediately changes, and Jane, those words will resonate with me for the rest of my life. The day after that, I happened to hear Ray Charles belt out America the Beautiful. And he came to that line, God shed his grace on thee. It reminded me, God has shed his grace on me extravagantly. I mean, we have a world with millions of people that are disadvantaged, oppressed, wake up daily to pain and suffering. I was able to live, and still am, a comfortable life for over 83 years. I had great parents, grew up in a great community, Zeeland, Michigan, and I was gifted with the ability to play baseball, and I'm grateful for that. I want to acknowledge a few people today, a couple that aren't here. I had 22 wonderful years with Mary Ann Montanaro. She was always hoping this day would come. My daughter Jill was taken from us last year. This would certainly be a special day for her. But I see the smiles on their faces as they would celebrate the joy that we have this weekend. Now, Margie Mather Kaat is here. And I often introduce myself as Mr. Margie Kaat because she is by far the strongest part of our partnership. And she has brought me joy, purpose, inspiration, and support for over 13 years. And I thank you for being who you are. You are an awesome partner. I want to thank the Golden Days Committee. When your career is validated by players that you played against, played with, media people, club executives that actually saw you play, that's the highest honor you can get. And I'm honored to go in with the class of 2022 and my fellow inductees. Now, you know my dad was a baseball fan, so I want to tell you the impact he had on my life. It was a blend of wisdom, discipline, and support. I never understood the discipline as a young boy. He never had more than an 8th grade education, but somehow he had a master's degree in discipline. And he knew how to administer it. And I didn't see the value of that until I got into adulthood. I don't know that I'm there for sure yet, but I'm getting there. But his wisdom came into play in 1957. Dick Winsick, scout for the Washington Senators, had been watching me pitch for Hope College, small college in Holland, Michigan. He actually came there to see the Kalamazoo pitcher, and we won that game. He said, I got to go back see that kid again. We won the next game and subsequently offered me a $4,000 contract, sign, and go to Superior, Nebraska to start my career. In the meantime, Pete Melito, the White Sox scout, called and said, we think we can get your son $25,000. Well, what was required of that, and my dad, an avid reader of the sporting news, knew that if you signed a bigger contract than $4,000, you had to sit on the big league bench on the roster for 2 years. And he followed the plight of those players. He said, thank you, Pete. Jim's going to go to the minor leagues and learn how to play the game. My dad made $72 a week in 1957. You can do the math. Figure out what he sacrificed so his son could start his career at the right level. I did go down to the minor leagues and started my career down there, and I actually made my debut a little after 2 years from the time I signed. But I wouldn't have advanced that far had I not spent a couple years in the minor leagues, and specifically 1958 in Missoula, Montana, Class C league. Boy, it's a tough league to pitch in. When I went into Boise, I'm 19 years old. The cleanup hitter for the Boise Braves, 23-year-old grizzled veteran, went on to become known as Mr. Baseball, Bob Uecker. Ueck was the cleanup hitter. My manager was a 27-year-old playing manager. He's 91 and he's here today. Jack McKeon, wherever you are, could you stand for a moment? So I started out that season, Jack, 1-4, and I thought one more bad start and my dreams are going to be crushed before they start. I just want to tell you this story because it shows you the fine line between standing here being inducted into the Hall of Fame and having one more bad start and getting you sent home. And Jack called me over one day and he said, kid, you're going to pitch in the big leagues. You're pitching for me every 4 days. Might pitch a little in relief between starts. We only have 7 starters. We have 7 pitchers. We have 17-man roster. So come September, 240 innings later, I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about pitching. I learned a lot about being a supportive teammate. And Jack, it still brings a smile to my face when I think about the situations I'd get into. Bases loaded, 8th inning, nobody out, close game. He didn't run out to the mound, fill me full of information and advice, stepped out in front of home plate, tossed me the ball, figure out a way to get out of it. And sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't, but I thank him for letting me take ownership of the situation and take ownership of the game and my position. I very much for that, and I was honored to be a part of some terrific teams in the 60s. 2 of the guys that helped me win some games are right back here, Rod Carew and Tony Oliva, who will be inducted momentarily. Another one that sat back there for a while is not here, is Harmon Killebrew. So I'm very thankful for that, and I had 2 pitching coaches, Eddie Lopat, Johnny Sane, who taught me the art of pitching. 1973, Roland Heeman, Hall of Fame executive, claimed my contract off waivers. I got reunited with Johnny Sane. Chuck Tanner was the most positive baseball person I'd been around as our manager. Many times I thought he was going to send me home. He kept flipping me the ball every 4 days. Between those 3 guys, they resurrected my career. You know, when you pitch for a long time, you have a lot of catchers. I had 38 of them. Wish I could thank them all. 3 of them are here, all great baseball minds. Tim McCarver, Phil Roof, and back here, Hall of Famer Ted Simmons. And the late Earl Batty caught most of my innings, and with that mellow, soft-spoken voice, he was a great guidance for me in my early years. And in 1982, I finished my career, my last full season with the St. Louis Cardinals. That was the most exciting team I've ever been on and most rewarding year. Because when Bruce Sutter, who's sitting back here, struck out the last hitter in Game 7, it meant that I would be able to wear this World Series ring. And that's what we play for. So I want to thank Whitey Herzog, the manager, all the coaches, every player on that team for enabling me to wear this ring. I am humbled and honored to be included in this fraternity of some of the greatest players to play the game. And I thank you for being part of this wonderful day.
Wow.